Hello, hello, and welcome. Let's see. There we go. Perfect. I'm just going to put into our comments. So if you are joining me live and or even if you're doing the recording, go ahead and let me know that you're here. As I always say, I absolutely love my Facebook Live days in this group because it's an opportunity to actually interact and connect with everybody. As much as I try to get out there and be in the world with everybody as well, this is our opportunity. Let's see here. Welcome. Let's go ahead. Give me your name. If you're in here, say hello. And what I would love to know is where it is burnout. So burnout isn't a badge, it's the powers returning to presence. That's kind of our topic for today. This is a place that I have lived very, very deeply. So burnout I used to wear as a badge quite a bit, or busy was my badge of honor. And so where in your life right now are you feeling burnt out? So it might be with work, it might be in a relationship, might be with your kids, it might be with extracurricular activities. There's all sorts of places that we can have it. And so if you're feeling and it feels safe to share that, go ahead and maybe just say, yeah, I'm feeling burnout somewhere in my life. Or if it feels safe, you can say where it is that you're feeling it as well, because we can lean into that a bit. So let's see, are you burnt out? There we go. Beautiful. And then I'm just going to shift these comments and let's see if I can make them work. All these little things. Go. Fingers crossed. I think I have that fixed now. Beautiful. All right, there we go. Okay, welcome. Thank you so much. Yes, so if you're joining me, give me that information. So if you're just jumping on, name, and is there an area of your life right now that you are feeling burnt out? And so this is a place where I have lived very much in my life, and it took me quite a bit to shift out of this. It's probably the hardest thing after, so 8 years ago, I had 2 car accidents, 6 days apart. The hardest thing for me to stop was being busy. I used to have panic attacks when I would wake up in the morning because I didn't have to go to work. And to me, that was terrifying. So, this is a place that I lived a lot. I prided myself on working an 80-hour work week. I had lots of different balls in the air. I would not let myself off the hook for being super mom. I would not let me off. Perfect. Hello, Bobby. I wouldn't let myself off the hook for anything. I wouldn't let it, I was very judgmental and very aggressive with myself on this. And so it was very much like it was a badge to this burnout. It was like, oh my gosh. And it was like this way of saying, see, it's okay for me to pause for a moment. But I wouldn't let myself pause until I hit the wall. And so this is what I want us to chat about today. And I'm just reading what I've got. We talk about everybody's overwhelmed, stimulated, and quietly tired. And so one of the things that brought this forward for me is that often people start to burn out and then they get mad at themselves. So first we overextend ourselves for everything, and then we get resentful about all the things that we gave all of that energy to, sometimes even ourselves. And then we see it as a weakness when we do burn out, and it just creates this incredible cycle that we go through. And what's interesting about it is we don't understand often or pay attention to what is the energy driving us to burn out in the first place. So for many of us, well, fear is the base emotion. So if we look at it, we have two base emotions that we're feeling. So we either feel fear or we're moving towards love. So those are kind of our two ones. Within the concept of love would be connection, it would be excitement, joy, it could be pleasure, it can be compassion. Those are all things that would be moving us closer to love. And then fear would also include the lineages of anger, so the defense to fear. So anything within the fear side of it, worry, concern, we use all sorts of language to to work around. Oh no, I'm not scared. I'm just worried about. And so we use these things to try and get around what we're really feeling. And underneath it is we have a sense of fear. And those fears, the big four, are safety, security, belonging, and love. And so that's what we're either trying to get or trying to keep. And so when we recognize it though, and we honor it, we kind of go, oh, I'm trying to find security here. Oh, I'm trying to feel a sense of belonging or a value. Value would be maybe a word we would use, but what does that mean? It means that we want to belong. We want to feel safe. We want to feel secure. We want to feel loved. So we'll use different words around it, but we're looking at what the base energy is underneath them. And so once we understand that, we kind of go, oh, what is this? So the problem is most of us, probably all of us, but most of us have been raised to find those things outside of ourselves. So when we were children, our parents, we would look for safety and security from our parents. And that's normal, that's natural. But as we're growing up, the job is to teach children how to feel safe and secure within themselves. And so, for some people, they've grown up in families where this is very much the case. For some of us, we did not grow up that way. And so we continued to look, we left home and we continued to look for safety, security, belonging, and love outside of ourselves. We looked for it in friendships, we looked for it in work, we looked for it in community, and this is what we're trying to get. And what we don't do is look for it within ourselves. So going into the quiet, going into the contemplation. Now, sometimes people will hide. So we'll go the opposite direction. Some people are very extrovert. They're out there trying to get it. And then some people will introvert and it'll be, they're still not finding safety and security within themselves because being out there is hard. So it can look a few different ways. So once we understand like, oh, do I really feel grounded within myself? Do I feel like I can hold even in a chaotic environment? Doesn't mean we should go and sit in chaotic environments that aren't healthy for us, but we should be able to ground ourselves and get really settled in so that we can be in that chaos and then shake it off afterwards and come back into our homeostasis, our balance point again. And so recognizing why it is that we do what we do, what causes the burnout, and then when we burn out, understanding that that doesn't mean that we're weak. What it means is it's a signal saying that we're out of alignment. And so once we understand that we're misaligned with our schedule, so often burnout will happen because we get stuck in our seasons. So we kind of think of like spring, we're planting seeds, we're new ideas, we're getting things started. We move into summer and we're building it and it's growing and it's coming into fruition. And then we get into fall and we reap the harvest, but then we also start to close things down. We start to, put some things away and complete the tasks. And then winter is our opportunity to reset, to replenish. And it's kind of like, just like a field. If you plant and harvest a field over and over and over again, you deplete it of all of its minerals, of its life force. We do the same to ourselves. And so often burnout comes because we skip a season or two, and it can be really difficult. And that's a place I lived in for a long time. I had no idea that this concept of winter, like what it really, really meant. I knew it in like that intellectual, like, yeah, I know, but I didn't live it. And so this is our opportunity to start kind of going, oh, am I living and including the season of winter? And so as we start heading into the real season of winter with the earth, for some of us, we mimic that season as well. So for some of us, myself included, I usually love winter. It's my time to kind of get quiet. I cozy up at home more. I'm a little quieter. It's my opportunity to let ideas start to come to the surface, to rest so that I'm open to something new being there. And then as I move through that, then it's kind of like you start planting those seeds and moving again. And so it's like this opportunity to, allow what we have planted, what we've done to be experienced, to be appreciated, to be loved. And so this is what we're looking at when we're looking at our seasons. And so when we burn out, it's often because we're skipping. And so for some people, I have clients where they're the opposite. they like plow in the middle of winter. They love winter. It's like go time. And in the summer, they're super, super like mellowed out, chill. They just want to have a little more play, a little more relaxation time. And so note that your seasons might not exactly mimic the seasons of winter in terms of timing. And that is totally okay. Just note what is the right season for you in the timing of your cycles, and that will be helpful. I was like, I'm always looking at the notes to make sure I hit everything and I don't go like way off. Okay, so burnout, what burnout actually is. So we've hit there. So outperforming the version of you that's outdated. And so, we don't think about that sometimes as well as that. For myself, I noticed that there was these times where the version of myself was over and I needed to let her go and experience the next version of myself, allowing myself to expand, allowing myself to learn, allowing myself to become, well, to keep becoming, and then be able to sit with that and get to know her and appreciate her. And often when instead what happens is we get into, it's almost like competition with our previous version of ourselves. This might be easy to see when we look at our bodies changing. So often, this is a place I talk about this quite often with friends, where I will look in a mirror and I'm shocked that I don't have the same body I did when I was 32. And I don't understand why I can't get my body to look like that again. And we've moved through seasons. And so often we compare ourselves to what we've been before, not recognizing that that's great and that was exactly what we needed in that season, but now we're moving into a different season. And so even when we look at wisdom, there's like the knowledge, yeah, I know. And then there is like getting to know something. So think of fire. You like somebody says to you, "Oh, here's fire." And you're like, "Oh yeah, I know fire." And then there is like the actual knowledge of fire, the intellect with it, where we know how to cook with it. We know that it will burn. We know aspects of fire and what it can do. And then there's wisdom. And wisdom is when we can see the whole big picture of it. So we know like how we need to use it and how it should not be used, how it can, the long-term effects of fire, how it can impact everybody and everything. And so there's this greater wisdom where we can see the big picture. Often we think of this as, in time. And so as we continue down our journeys, we forget that we want to be like the same energy levels, the same bodies, the same figures, all the things of our 20-year-old version of ourselves or our 30-year-old version of ourselves. And we forget that we have a lot more wisdom now. And so there is other things for us to be doing and being in this world. And so rather than trying to be what we were before, which burns us out, we need to start to roll and flow with the rhythm of where we are now. And so this is a big place that can cause our burnout. Often we avoid presence. So presence, my piece here was the power of returning to presence. And so when we avoid presence, often it's because we're outrunning something, we're coping with something. Whereas presence can be a bit scary. All of a sudden we're in the quiet, we're in the stillness, we're in this conversation. And for some people, you might find presence is easier when you are with family or with friends. Some people might find presence easier when they're at work. And so one of the ways that you see this divide is if you are at home and you're still thinking about work or the things you need to do and or what's going to come tomorrow, then you're not present with your family. For some people, they'll find this when they're at work, they bring their family with them. And so when we don't allow ourselves to be completely present in the moment, it's not that we, ignore it and don't deal with those things. It's just that we allow ourselves to be completely present. When I'm cooking dinner, I'm cooking dinner. When I'm talking to my husband, I'm talking to my husband. When I'm at my desk, I'm at my desk. So yes. Oh, beautiful. Yay. Hello, Carrie. So yes, we want to be present. And it's so hard to do sometimes for us because there's a lot going on. We are so living in a world of distraction, phones going, text messages, messengers. Somebody said to me the other day, I sent you a message and I was like, what forum? And I realized I have Voxer, WhatsApp, Instagram with 3 accounts, more technically, but 3 that are actively mine, 3 accounts, Facebook, this group, text messages, email. I have 3 email accounts. And I'm like, where'd you send it? And so, when we are, so it's hard sometimes to be really, really present because we're being stretched into all these different areas. And so when we think of it that way, it's like, oh, no wonder why I struggle with this. And so it's giving ourselves permission to practice it. When I'm cutting this, piece of fruit, can I just cut the fruit? And when I'm cutting the fruit, can I feel my fingertips? Can I feel the knife in my hand? Can I look at it? Can I see it? Can I feel those textures of things? Can I smell? We start getting really present. And so in the beginning, often we need to practice it. And so it's like, okay, feel the fruit. It's like steps. And it's like one more thing to do. And so we feel what we're doing. And so there's this opportunity to practice it. When we do the practice, though, what happens is we deepen the relationship with life. If we are practicing it with friends, then we're deepening the relationship, the connection with those people. And so instead of having the dysfunctional relationships of attachments, we start cultivating the healthy relationships of connection. And there is nothing more powerful for our children, for our spouse, for our friends, for our coworkers, for somebody that we don't even know, a stranger on the street, the cashier at the grocery store, to feel seen and to feel heard, to look them square in the eye and be like, thank you so much, I appreciate you. And there's great power there. You might be the first person that saw them today. And so there's a really beautiful, and then what does that give us? So we gave them the gift of presence, and we gave ourselves the gift of presence. It's powerful, powerful work. And when we're totally present, the reminder is that our soul, our spirit, is an entity only of present time. It's an entity only of this beautiful eternal moment. And so this is the gift that we get to live in and be part of. The nervous system. So we're still like, what is the burnout actually? So often the body thinks of speed as safety. And so when we get stuck in fight and flight, when we are like in this constant hamster wheel of doing, it's often because we're trying to chase safety and security. Yeah. And so this is like, oh my God, why am I doing this? And sometimes I won't lie to you guys, the day of the first accident, I remember I hit my knees. I had the home we lived in, I had this place that I could, actually this was slightly before that. So I'd hit my knees one day and I said, I can't do this anymore. I need you to step in. I need a hand. I'd been given a bunch of people in my life that were like trying to help me be present and trying to help me slow down. And I just added more on my plate. I didn't actually slow down. So then on the morning of the accidents, I was really overwhelmed. It was a stormy day out. I needed to go down to Parksville for some meetings, come back. I had to do deliveries. I was stretched really thin. And I said, I don't know how much longer I can do this for. I need you to take the wheel. This is a really dangerous thing, it turns out, to say to the universe when you are driving in a storm. And so just a few hours later, by 4 o'clock that afternoon, I would be in a car accident up on the main highway that a lady would lose control of her car and hit mine. Probably would have recovered with that within 6 weeks, but 6 days later it happened again because I didn't slow down. And so there's like these warnings that the universe tries to give us. Now I make a point of caveating all of my requests of the universe with a no hitting, because I'm like, I don't need that. Like, write something on a foggy mirror. That's so much better. Like, yes, right? No being hit. I'm like, I don't mind all the rest of it, but no hitting. Like, just like, let's be clear here. So make sure that we notice that. The piece is when we think of it, so it's our ego, it is our body that thinks speed is safety, but our soul knows that presence is actually power. So it's when we are present with ourselves that we cultivate those things. So in the very beginning, I said safety, security, belonging, and love, the big 4 things that we're always trying to get or keep. We look for them outside of ourselves because we're taught that from childhood, from our parents, from our teachers, from daycare workers, from church, from systems. We're taught to look to them for things. And then we forget, we're not taught to look to ourselves for those things. And so when we go back inward, this is where presence lies. So when we get really quiet with ourselves, like what is the power of meditation? Why, even for myself, when I'm working with clients, I'm like, do you meditate? It's like the first thing that I ask, even if I'm doing, energy work with somebody. And because meditation is where power lies. And the reason for that is because when we're meditating, we're working at being present with ourselves, at being for a change. And so when we're in that presence place, all of a sudden we can start to actually cultivate true safety, security, belonging, and love within ourselves, with ourselves. And then when we are safety, security, belonging, and love, that's when we can project that into the world. And so then we start creating that. So when we look at the laws of co-creation, I refer to them as field and form. The field, your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions are always creating form. Form being not only your body, the environment, but your outcomes and your relationships. And so when we can be really present with ourselves, and we've got that safety, security, belonging, and love within us, then that is what precedes us bringing that into the world. Then safety, security, belonging, and love surrounds us. Not because it's happening to us, because it's happening through us. And that is the power of understanding safety or field and form, especially in these contexts. And then when our mind and energy disagree, the body burns out. So here's the problem. So often our energy system's like, oh my God, I need to rest, I need to relax. Just going through this with a friend this week, and the mind is like, oh, we can go for a run, we're fine. And then my girlfriend goes for a run and then burns out and gets sick. Sick, colds, flus, all of them are examples of energy exhaustion. That is what burnout looks like in real time. And so often we think, well, I needed to do that. And it's like, but your mind is telling you that. And we all have to remember that our mind is the neurotic inner roommate. And so it's great when it's being controlled and handled by choice, by conscious choice. It's not good when it is telling you what you need to be doing. And so that's when we get into chaos. That's when we get into, believing the lies of the mind. And so keep that in mind, because that's that amygdala going of safety and security. So field and form for presence is power. I moved it across. So remembering that presence isn't passive, it's participation in real time. So we are actually participating in life, not kind of skimming through it, which is what happens when we're not present. Your field calibrates from the moment you return to your breath, and that's powerful. So it can feel like, oh my gosh, how can I get back into presence? It literally takes 3 conscious breaths. So to conscious breathe, what we're doing is you can take your hands and give, some somatic stimulation to it, put them on your belly. Inhale through your nose for about 4 counts. Breathe to the belly, let the waistline expand. Feel that, pause at the top of the breath. Feel the breath expanding in your belly as you pause. Exhale, draw the navel back into the spine. Inhale, waistline expands, pelvic floor drops. Exhale, pelvic floor lifts, navel contracts. Inhale, expansion, pelvic floor drops. Exhale, gentle lifting, gentle contraction. 3 breaths to bring you back into this moment, to be back to yourself, back home. So coherence is when our emotions, energy, and nervous system match. So first we need to get to our breath. We need to get back into this moment. Then we can start to check in. So the context of field and form, or the Aligned Human Project, is align, or pause, feel, align. So we take the pause, we come back to the breath. We start to feel into our bodies. What am I feeling right now? What are the emotions I have? Where are my thoughts at? And so once we do that, then we can start to align. What do I want to be feeling? What do I want to be thinking? How do I want to be acting? And so we start to bring ourselves back into coherence again. And that is the power of what we are. We are consciousness creating. And that's what we want to remember. Presence is the bridge between who you've been and who you're becoming. And so often we talk about, well, for myself, I used to complain to my doctor. I was like, I would have these panic attacks. And so I'd be like, I feel like you're asking me to close that door of my old life and you want me to close it, but I can't quite reach the door that I'm moving towards. And I remember her laughing and she was being, yes. Do you know what the space between those two doors is called? And I was like, no. And she said, life. And I was like, I did not get it. I was like, oh. And it still took me a couple years to really embody what was being said to me. We're always, always in that space in between the two doors. Even when we feel like we're moving through a door, we're just going into another space. So you move through the door and now you're going into the next room and it begins again. Welcome to the cyclical nature of life. And so this is what we are moving through. So recognizing presence is the bridge. It's what really anchors us here. And when we are present, so one of the things to note is Eckhart Tolle talked about enthusiasm and this enthusiasm for life. It's part of my intention that I write every single day. So what my final intention that I write every single morning is I'm in constant connection and flow with the divine God source, filled with enthusiasm for all that I am being in this world. That is my final line of my intentions that I write out every day and repeat. So when I'm saying that enthusiasm, how do we become enthusiastic about life? So enthusiasm is cultivated when we are present in the moment doing whatever we're doing and we bring joy to it. Whether that is folding laundry, we can have the thoughts, I don't really like doing laundry, I hate doing this chore. That's an option. Or we could get really present and smell the smell of clean clothes, the feel of the material that we're folding, that we are, putting away things is like, let it spark joy. We can be present while we're folding the clothes and grateful that we have the clothes and that we're, putting the things away that will protect our bodies, our loved ones' bodies. It's a choice. And we don't realize that. So we can start bringing joy into the benign things that we have to do every day. And we can also choose to start to neutralize and move towards greater gratitude for the chores that we really dislike. And so when we get present with something, we bring joy to the task. And so joy plus a goal. And so if the goal is to have a healthy, happy home, then we can bring joy to the tasks that are creating that long-term goal of a beautiful, happy, healthy home. If the goal is, we'll use mine right now, which is to bring this aligned human project that I downloaded, that to bring it into the earth, then my job isn't to focus on the end of it. It's to be present here in this moment doing this with you. And bringing the joy to it, bringing the love of, sharing all that I've experienced and am experiencing in this world, and getting to shift the energy, the frequency around us. And it might seem like, okay, great, you've got this big project, but it's even in those moments of, with our children. The goal is to raise them to be healthy, happy, contributing adults into this world. And so we bring joy into the moment, each moment that we are with them when we're teaching them something new, even if it's exasperating because we repeated it 15 times. So those are the opportunities that we have. We just get to choose to look at something just a titch differently. And so I put every time you come back into your body, your energy updates your truth. So think about that. We are like programming ourselves. And often we don't think of that way. We think like I'm allowing the world to program me. I'm reacting to the world around me, which is programming me. But that's not truthful, or it doesn't have to be. We can actually come back to our body, come back to our breath, come back into our experience in this moment. And at that moment, we start programming ourselves. And that is powerful. So a quick little practice I put on here, which was, I call them reclamation practices, which is to bring our energy home. And so a bit of what I did with you guys just a few moments ago. So you can do it with hand on heart, hand on belly. You can do it just with your hands on your belly, whatever makes you feel good. And we just want to take a nice, slow, long inhale through the nose. It's natural for us to start slowing down our breath as we do this. And then just ask, where am I pushing when I'm being called to pause? Where am I pushing when I'm being called to pause? So that might be that a door has closed in your life for something, and now we're getting a moment to pause rather than going for the next thing. So it might be a job, it might be a relationship, it might be all sorts of things, but we're getting called to pause. So where is that in your life? And then allowing yourself to feel, where in my body, or where is your body right now saying no, even if your mind is saying yes? Because often those two are not agreeing. So let's bring the coherence into this. And then our acclamation of this is, I reclaim my power through presence. I am safe here. So I reclaim my power through presence. I am safe here. And just notice what softens when you give yourself permission to get a little quieter and a little slower. Notice where there's tightness, and can we support ourselves to let that tightness, that resistance, can we let it go? Can we let it soften just a little bit more? Your breath is the first place that your alignment returns. All right, so here we go. So just that final piece is, so presence is the first step into alignment. Your energy doesn't lie. It learns how to trust signals. And so we're learning how to come back into ourselves and check in again. I love the sacred pause. I talk about it a lot in my emails. I talk about, and there's a reason for it. It's because we easily forget the little things that we can do. And so the sacred pause, when somebody asks me a question to do something, I don't answer right away. And I will take a full, long, deep breath before I do. Even if my mind's like yes or no, I'm like, yeah, I think that could work. What would that look like? And, so I will really check in with myself and feel my body of what's happening here. And now the person can trust what my answer is as well. So again, we're going to be cultivating a deeper connection. The small daily practice. So breath, so pause, 2-minute check-in. The two things I have for you guys coming up here are, I created 2 freebies that I'll post. I'll try and post them in the thread today in our comments. Otherwise, I'll post them into the chat separately. One is called the alignment audit. So it is daily nervous system and energy regulation tools. The audit is where's your energy leaking? And then I have a second one, which is burnout to alignment blueprint. So some daily nervous system check-ins that we can do and some energy regulation tools. And then I want to share with you guys, because it is launched, I will put the link today in your chats, is we have the Alignment Masterclass. It is a free 2-hour masterclass where we are going to be talking about the 12 laws of co-creation and what they look like in daily life. So a little bit of what they are overall, and then how do they work in our healing? How do they work in relationships? How do they work in business? So how do these laws show up all the time? And so I'm going to give kind of a masterclass overview of how to get us back into alignment using those laws. It is free. It is on November. I'm going to do a quick double check for us to make sure I give you the right date. It is going to be November 23rd at 9 a.m. That is a Sunday. And then the reason for that is because Align Your Life, my new coaching program, is coming out, and it starts on December 7th, which is the first Sunday of December. And I'm super stoked about it. It is a 12-month journey. Once a month, we go for the first Sunday of each month, we do 2 hours. I teach for about 45 minutes on what the law of that month. So December will be conscious creation is constant. We're going to talk about that law. I teach for about 45 minutes, business, health, all of it. And then I open it up to Love Seat coaching, which means then you get to bring your questions to me. So whatever is going there, it is a sacred container. It is, we hold that space for each other. We don't talk about what other people's things are going on in the sessions. It is recorded. You'll have access to the recordings, as well as there will be handouts about those laws in each area of your life that you get to take in for the rest of the month as well. And so there's a whole bunch of pieces there. So once a month we do group coaching together, and that is called Align Your Life. Founder's price on this is only $9.97. I'm super, super pumped about it. I have done group coaching and then pulled back over and over and over again. Tend to go more towards one-to-one coaching. This, when I was given the 12 laws of co-creation, field and form, it was like, this is the right time. And so then it was, the nudge was, now go ahead and do a group coaching program. And so this is the program that I'm going to run. So it starts in December 7th. So if you're interested in that, you can message me. I will put the links in for you guys as well. I'm super pumped about them. So free masterclass coming on the 23rd, and Align Your Life begins on December 7th. And so I'll send you guys both of those links. And I think that is it for today. So if there is a place that you are finding yourself burning out, I would love to hear, where is that in your life? If you feel safe to talk about that, you always have the option to private message me. As you heard earlier, I got a lot of messages from a whole bunch of different areas. So if it takes me a couple of days, please know that I am going to definitely return to you. I might just have missed it or gotten overwhelmed with what's coming in. So, and I just give myself a lot of space. So I sometimes answer a couple and then I have to take a pause. So just feel free, though, to reach out to me and let me know. And where do you feel like you could use a little bit more presence? So even if you're not feeling burnt out in an area of your life right now, maybe there's an area where you could see it happening. Often for me, when I'm starting to burn out, the place that I can, or the way that I can tell is, one, I can get sick, or two, I start feeling resentful. And so there might be an emotion that you notice, or a behavioral pattern or a thought pattern you notice when you look back in your life and you started to burn out. What was going on and what were you feeling that you ignored? Because remember, law 6 is accountability. So we are the ones that need to realign ourselves, not other people. All right, you guys, I love you to bits. I cannot wait to chat with you again soon. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I look forward to chatting again. Raise the blessings.